He was mocked as a dropout, insulted as a nobody. They called him a beggar living off his wife. But what they didn't know was that the man they despised was the richest soul in Africa. When he finally revealed who he truly was, the world bowed, the proud wept, and even the king trembled. Stay with me, because this is not just a story of wealth, it's a story of destiny, and how pride can blind the eyes of love.
Once, in the bustling heart of Lagos, where the lagoon whispers to the sky and the wind carries the scent of roasted corn and restless dreams, two young souls met beneath the umbrella trees of a secondary school courtyard, Frederick and Jane. They were inseparable. Laughter bound them. Dreams joined them. Where Frederick went, Jane followed. They walked home together through dusty streets, sharing one meat pie, one bottle of Fanta, and 1,000 promises. Frederick's love for Jane was not loud. It was the quiet kind, the kind that sacrifices without complaint. To him, she was the light that turned his ordinary world into something divine. Years later, at the University of Lagos, their paths remained entwined. They studied together by the lagoon front, the evening wind whispering across the water, carrying dreams far beyond the city. It was there, one golden evening, beneath a sky painted with the last blush of sunset, that Jane spoke the words that would change everything. "I want to do my master's abroad," she said softly, gazing at the rippling water. To anyone else, those words would have been simple ambition, but to Frederick, they struck like thunder in a clear sky. He knew what such a dream cost, money her family could never afford. His heart ached, but he said nothing. That night, while the world slept, Frederick made a decision. He would make her dream possible, even if it cost him everything. Weeks later, without a word to Jane, he dropped out of school. The corridors of Unilag whispered his name in confusion and pity. They said he failed. They said he couldn't keep up. But Frederick knew the truth. He had exchanged his own dream for hers. He vanished into the underbelly of Lagos, the chaos of Oshodi. There, he hustled under the sun and the rain, selling, running, pushing, surviving. His hands became rough, his eyes older, but his heart still carried her name. It was there, amid the madness of the market, that fate took notice of him. A stranger, a retired soldier, now a recruiter, saw something fierce in the boy's eyes. He asked no questions, only said, "Son, would you fight for something greater?" And so, Frederick joined the Nigerian army. He left Lagos behind, the noise, the memory, the woman. His road stretched far, through deserts, war zones, and distant lands where the sun burned without mercy. But within that fire, destiny forged a man of steel. In the battlefields, where life and death danced daily, Frederick became more than a soldier. He became a name, one whispered with respect and mystery. Stories followed him like shadows of impossible victories, of strange fortune found in foreign lands. And then came wealth. Not ordinary wealth, fortunes that glimmered with sacrifice and secrets. No one could trace where it began, only that Frederick's investments grew like wildfire. he became the silent owner of conglomerates that spanned continents. They called him the CEO of CEOs, a ghost among the powerful, unseen yet everywhere. But even in distant lands, his heart wandered home. He never stopped thinking of Jane. He sent her letters, unsigned, filled with encouragement and hope. Through invisible hands, he funded her scholarships, paid her fees, built her ladder to the world she dreamed of. She rose, from student to scholar, from scholar to global acclaim. The newspapers called her Nigeria's pride. And all the while, she never knew that the hands behind her success were the same rough, scarred hands that once held hers under the umbrella trees. Rumors spread through Lagos that a mysterious billionaire, the CEO of CEOs, was sponsoring a young woman's rise. Jane, hearing them, smiled secretly. In her heart, she began to imagine this benefactor, tall, eloquent, dressed in royal suits, commanding respect with every word. She vowed she would never settle for anyone less than. And so, unknowingly, she built a wall between herself and the man who had built her dreams. 5 years passed before Lagos saw Frederick again. He returned, not as the boy who once sold in Oshodi, but as a man cloaked in quiet power. His wealth could move mountains. His companies spanned oceans. Yet he walked humbly, in tailored simplicity, his eyes still carrying that same softness. His executive aide, Mr. Raphael Ajayi, managed his empire. To the world, Raphael was the face. To the few who knew, Frederick was the soul behind the empire. On the day he landed, Frederick gave one simple order. In 5 days' time, prepare a banquet. I will introduce my fiancée to the world. No one knew who she was. No one knew the man they served was the invisible giant of the land. That evening, Frederick dialed a familiar number. The line rang, and the voice he had not heard in years answered. Jane! Silence. Then recognition. Frederick, after all these years. He smiled. Yes, I am back. Let us continue what distance broke. She agreed to meet him. 2 days later, Frederick stood waiting at ShopRite in Lekki, a diamond ring in his pocket, his heart pounding like a drum. He imagined the moment she would know the truth. But destiny, mischievous as ever, had other plans. As he waited, a young woman, elegant, hurried, and anxious, approached him. Please, she said, we must get married now, before my parents find out. Frederick blinked in disbelief. Excuse me? She explained in a rush. Her name was Rachel, daughter of one of Lagos's richest families. Her parents had arranged for her to marry an Eastern prince for business gain. To escape, she needed a quick contract marriage with a stranger. Frederick laughed softly. I'm sorry, miss, but I am waiting for someone I love. Before she could reply, a car horn sounded. Jane arrived, radiant, dressed in gold, her mother beside her. Music drifted from nearby cafes. The air shimmered with faith. Frederick stepped forward, heart trembling. He knelt before her, pulled out the ring, and spoke words that carried 5 years of silence. But Jane's eyes, once gentle, had turned to ice. I can't, she said, not unless it comes from the richest man in the city. You are a dropout, Frederick, a loser. Her words struck like daggers. The crowd that had gathered gasped. Frederick stood slowly, his smile fading into calm sadness. He said nothing. For him, Her rejection was not just of love, it was a rejection of everything he had given in silence. As she walked away with her mother, the woman beside him spoke softly. "Then marry me," she said. "A contract marriage. 1 year. You'll forget her. I'll be free." Frederick looked at her. She was bold, desperate, but beneath her fear lay honesty. He hesitated, then nodded.
And so, under Lagos's indifferent sky, they married quietly at the Ikoyi registry. No friends, no music, no family. Just two souls signing papers for different reasons. The city moved on, unaware that destiny had just shifted again. Lagos never forgets a secret for long. Whispers spread like harmattan dust. The daughter of the powerful Rachel family had married a stranger, quiet, unknown, perhaps a gold digger. Society laughed. But Frederick Anyewu walked the city in silence. His wealth hid behind walls of anonymity. His name never appeared in headlines, only his companies did, rising like towers across continents. At charity events, people greeted him with forced smiles. Behind their glasses of champagne, they mocked. They called him Mr. Nobody, the man feeding on his wife's riches. Yet, every insult only deepened his calm, for silence was the armor of those who knew the truth. Rachel soon learned that the man she had married for escape carried a mystery too deep to measure. Her family had hired investigators, private eyes, even agents of the state to uncover his background. But each inquiry ended in the same reply from the nation's highest security agency. No citizen is permitted to investigate this individual. Fear replaced curiosity, and within Rachel's heart, respect began to bloom. She watched the way he carried himself, never raising his voice, never boasting, yet commanding quiet reverence from strangers who somehow knew to step aside when he walked past. Meanwhile, Jane's fame grew louder. She became the darling of Lagos, the scholar turned socialite, the queen of intellect. But every time she crossed paths with Frederick and his wife, unease gnawed at her heart. She mocked him publicly, calling him a parasite. Yet something in his eyes unsettled her, something powerful and familiar. One afternoon, at Ileyan in Lekki, fate arranged its cruel theater. Frederick and Rachel were having lunch, quiet and content, when Jane and her mother entered the restaurant. Their laughter filled the air like broken glass. Jane spotted Frederick and walked toward him, her heels clicking like drums of war. Her mother followed, chin high. "So this is where you feed now, living off the riches of another woman," she sneered. The restaurant fell silent. Forks paused mid-air. Even the waiters froze. Frederick's jaw tightened. He reached calmly for his phone and dialed Mr. Raphael Ajayi, the man who ran his empire in the open. "Raphael," he said quietly, "withdraw the proposal gift meant for Dr. Jane Ukigwe, the yacht, the supermarket, and the gold necklace. Instead, prepare something finer for my wife. Also, arrange the banquet, 2 nights from now." But destiny, ever mischievous, had already begun to twist his instruction. Before that call, Raphael's ambitious son, Raphael Jr., had taken it upon himself to deliver those very gifts to Jane at the restaurant, hoping to impress the unseen CEO of CEOs. Moments later, the doors opened. A young man in a crisp suit entered, flanked by assistants carrying glittering boxes. He announced grandly, "Dr. Okigwe Jane, the CEO of CEOs, sends you these tokens of honor: a yacht, a supermarket chain, and a golden necklace beyond price." Gasps rippled through the room. Jane's pride soared. She She turned to Frederick with a cruel smile. "Did you hear that? Not a cheap ring from a dropout, but gifts from the richest man alive." Frederick rose, eyes burning with disbelief. "I bought those gifts," he said softly. "They were meant for you, Jane." Raphael Jr. frowned. "Who are you to claim that?" Jane laughed. "He's no one, just a loser who forgot his place." The room trembled with tension. Raphael Jr.'s temper flared. "Dr. Jane, shall I throw this imposter out?" But before she could answer, Frederick spoke again, his voice low as thunder. "Tell your father I said this. He dares not speak such words behind my back, let alone in my presence. In 3 minutes, he will walk through that door and bow his head before me." The arrogance of his calm startled everyone. Jane scoffed. "We shall see." And then, silence. Footsteps approached. Doors opened once more, and in came Mr. Raphael Ajayi himself, eyes lowered, voice trembling. He walked straight to Frederick and bowed slightly. "Sir, forgive my son. The gifts have been delivered by mistake." The restaurant erupted in murmurs. Jane's knees weakened. Her mother clutched her arm. Frederick turned to Raphael. "Revoke every benefit from Dr. Jane. Redirect them to my wife, Mrs. Rachel Anyenwu." And with that, the hierarchy of Lagos shifted forever. Jane fell to her knees, crying, "Frederick, please, I didn't know. Forgive me." Before his heart could soften, the air shifted again. A new voice filled the doorway, cold, regal, and heavy with pride. Prince Festus of Okiga entered, dressed in royal white, his entourage gleaming behind him. He looked from Frederick to Rachel with disdain. "So this is the fake marriage that mocked my father's house. You, a common man, dared to take what was meant for royalty?" Laughter followed from his men, but Frederick stood still, unbothered. The prince continued, "My father, King Ifeanyi, once spoke of a mysterious benefactor who saved our land and restored his health. He called that man the CEO of CEOs. You cannot be him, you are beneath us." The crowd watched in awe as Frederick remained silent, only exchanging a knowing glance with Raphael Ajayi. 2 nights later, the city's elite gathered at the Wheatbaker Hotel for the grand banquet. Golden lights glittered. Luxury cars lined the street. Every influential name in Lagos was present. 3 kinds of invitations had been issued: bronze, silver, and gold. Jane and the prince carried silver. Rachel held bronze, and one invitation, the golden one, remained unclaimed in Frederick's suit pocket. As the orchestra played, Jane and the prince mocked him again. "Show us your invitation, impostor. Perhaps it is made of paper," the prince demanded. Frederick reached into his pocket and produced the bronze card. The guards inspected it and nodded. It was valid. The prince laughed loudly. "A bronze seat for a bronze man. Security, revoke his pass." By the authority of their silver invitations, they ordered him to step aside. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, but Frederick whispered, "Do not fear. The seat of kings is never taken by noise." The guests murmured. Some mocked, others waited. Then, slowly, Frederick reached again into his pocket and drew forth another envelope. Its edges shimmered like molten gold. The hall fell silent. The chief protocol officer rushed forward, trembling. He bowed deeply before Frederick and announced in a booming voice, "Behold, the bearer of the golden invite, the CEO of CEOs, Mr. Frederick Anyenwu." Thunderous gasps filled the hall. Cameras flashed.
The prince stumbled backward. Jane covered her mouth. Rachel stood frozen, tears streaming down her face, not of fear, but of pride. Frederick walked past them, his steps steady, and took his place upon the golden seat at the head of the hall. He turned to the crowd and spoke, not loudly, but with the authority of truth. For years, I walked among you unseen. I watched pride mock humility and deceit mock devotion. But tonight, the masks fall. He looked toward Jane. Every scholarship, every coin, every door that opened for you, it was my hand that turned the key. Yet, you called me a loser. You loved wealth more than the heart that built it. Now learn this truth. Riches may glitter, but gratitude shines brighter. Then his gaze shifted to the prince. As for you, tell your father that the one he sought, the benefactor of Ogiga, sits before you. The promise he made to let me choose his heir still stands, and it will not be you. The hall exploded in whispers. The prince fell to his knees, begging forgiveness. Jane joined him, weeping. "Frederick, forgive me," she cried. "Take me back. I was blind." But Frederick only rose, taking Rachel's hand gently. A heart that sees after wealth has faded is not love, it is hunger. He turned to Raphael. "Let all accounts tied to Dr. Jane be closed. Let new scholarships be opened in Rachel's name, for women who love without pride." The orchestra swelled. Golden confetti rained from the ceiling. The CEO of CEOs and his wife walked out hand in hand, leaving behind a hall of stunned faces. Outside, the Lagos night glittered with lights reflecting on car windows and wet streets. Rachel whispered, "You never told me who you truly were." Frederick smiled faintly. "I wanted you to see the man before the title. Now the world knows both." The drums rose softly, blending with the wind from the Atlantic. And so, the boy who dropped out for love returned as the master of destiny. The proud learned that wealth without humility is emptiness. The wise learn that true power speaks in silence. In the city of Lagos, they still tell his story of the dropout who became the CEO of CEOs, of love lost, pride broken, and destiny fulfilled. For every heart that despises humble beginnings, remember this: even the dust beneath your feet can rise to become gold. If this tale stirred your heart, don't just scroll away. Subscribe to African Folktales by Samobaba, where ancient African wisdom meets modern storytelling. Every week, new stories of destiny, betrayal, love, and triumph await you. Click the bell and join our circle of listeners who keep African stories alive.